I'd be remiss if we didn't start this episode off without saying a farewell to a boxer that we lost very recently, Ricky Hatton. Rest in peace, 40, 46, 47 years old. And I mean, he was preparing for a big fight, had a big fight coming up. He was trying to get himself back into shape. We all know about the struggles that Ricky's had. He was very open, probably the most open, maybe sometimes a little too open, about what the struggles that he went through in life. But it looked like he was trying to get his stuff together. And unfortunately, we've lost a fantastic friend to most, a promoter, a pioneer in the game of boxing. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, I'm going to ask you, Steve, what is your favorite memory of a Ricky Hatton fight? Because mine personally is, him beating the pants off of Paulie Malignaggi.
Yes, that's up there. For me, it's Custard Stew, of course. But I mean, for me, actually, it didn't go so well for Ricky. But for the whole event, it was somebody's always got to go with Floyd Mayweather. It was that. And the thing about Ricky Hatton is, and he was ours. He was ours, and he was Manchester's. He died in his home in Hyde, which is Greater Manchester, and never moved away. And he was unfiltered, completely unfiltered, and couldn't he couldn't dissemble at all. He was a man. He appeared to be a man who couldn't lie. I didn't know the man, but I felt as though I did, because when you see people on TV, any reality TV, and all of that, and being interviewed, you think, well, there's something that's part of the business here. But with a few people, very few people, you find that actually, I think this is you, mate, isn't it? And that's the way I feel sure we felt about him. And it's an absolute shock. And 46, I mean, incredible, and a real shock. So we'll feel it here. Everybody will feel it, but we'll feel it here really strongly because of because he was ours. It was it was first broken by our local newspaper, and he was just seemed a lovely bloke, and that's in a way, and that's more important than his boxing, actually. So it's terrible.
In a world where boxing is filled with so many not good people, let's face it, you know what I mean? When you come across somebody like a Ricky Hatton, who just is a genuine dude, even he was in the corner for Tyson Fury's fight against, Deontay Wilder. His promotions were doing good. He's got up and coming fighters, that really looked up to him. Shiraz, one of the fucking guys who spoke very highly of Ricky Hatton. So the world is going to be a little less better, without Ricky in it, for sure.
Yeah.
So
you're right.
Rest in peace, Ricky Hatton. Now, that being said, let's get down to the business that we do here, which is talk about the bees of boxing. And this past weekend, and even into the early morning, it seemed like we had some boxing going on. Now, I'm going to say it because I'd be remiss if I didn't, Steve. Once again, we were right. We were 100% correct in the assumption that the fight of that card was going to be the Christian and Billy Lester Fernandez fight. Holy crap. What just touched foreheads the entire time and went to work. Unbelievable fight. What did you think?
You're quite right. It was a phone booth fight, and Billy, and it was mentioned by the commentary team, actually, who I thought generally throughout the card were terrible, but they were right in this respect, in that Christian and Billy came out and said, I'm going to just do this. I'm just going to do this. and then shipped a lot of punishment, and was never wavered. Never wavered. I'm going to still do this. There may be a period when I can't do it as much, but I'm just going to still do it. And I thought that he deserved it. He deserved to shade it. I mean, it was a draw, and that's right. That's right. Of course it is. But thought that because of his absolute, just going to come forward, I would have given it to him.
Now, do you think this is one of those instances, though? Because I honestly, I think I had him Billy winning this fight. I had him winning this fight in a very close fight because Lester Fernandez hit him with some stuff, but Billy just kept coming through it, just kept coming through all of it. So I had him up in this fight maybe by a round, maybe two tops, right? Do you think this is one of those business instances, as I throw my fingers up in the air in air quotes, where the bullshit of boxing steps in and the bastards that run boxing are saying to themselves, a rematch with these two has to be just as good?
It's another B you've created, which is great. And we will talk about that maybe later on in this program. But yes, I don't think it's that calculated. I think that what happens is that sitting at ringside, people are taken in. The judges are taken in by what they're hearing. This is a great fight. They're going they're going toe to toe and nail for nail, and Lester's returning everything that Christian can give him. And I think that sometimes on the cards they go, "Oh, it's so close, I can't call it," because they've heard people go, "This is brilliant," and part of that is, we should do this again, and they should. Just to see what Christian and Billy does this time. This time, I think I'll just avoid him for 11 rounds and then hit him in the 12th.
Unbelievable fight. Now, you mentioned earlier that you didn't care so much for the commentating team for boxing. Was it more John Anik or was it more Max Kellerman?
John Anik, really.
Okay.
So, I just thought it was... I thought that they were really biased in the main event. I just thought, you've got something, and I don't know about this because I'm not a cynical swine like you are. And looking at you, you should be cynical at the world. Obviously, you can't always. No, but not everybody can look like me. And the thing is that I thought they had. I don't think they've been told to do this. They might have been, but I thought that they had something that was, let's talk Canelo up. Let's talk him up. So in the early going, you got, and I watched this morning, actually. I didn't watch it last night live. I watched it this morning with the sound off, but for some reason with subtitles on. So I'm going to take them off now. I'm too tired. So, and then I turned it on and I thought, constantly they are saying, but what happens when he gets hit by Canelo? As if to say, one punch will end this because Canelo's Superman.
Yeah.
And I thought that was just a bit egregious, to be honest. It just showed what they may have preferred and didn't get.
It's funny you say that, because then the other side of that is that what that does, and as well from a pro wrestling point of view, is what that does is it big ups your opponent. So it really at the end of the day, it made Crawford look like that much more of a demon killer, of a giant killer, because and understandable, because Canelo has only lost once before on Mexican Independence Weekend. So statistically, that's the horse that you get behind. So you can understand why they did this. But the work that Crawford did to show that he was still able to move, still able to counter, still able to stand in the pocket, so much so that there was so many people, myself included, that thought that Canelo's size and just Canelo's ability to go after the body was going to be a bigger problem. Now, Canelo did just that. He went after the body, and he went after the body hard, and it didn't even seem to faze him. Crawford walked through just about everything, got hit with a few good shots, but at the end of the day, I'm surprised. Like, I had this fight. I don't know what you scored it. I had it 116 for Crawford in this fight easily. And even then there was probably one of those rounds that I gave Canelo that I gave him out of pity.
There was one moment which I've led with in my podcast. There's one moment in the 11th round when Canelo hit him with one. I can't remember, and he hit him with a good shot, and Crawford just came back with a jab, and Canelo just stepped back and went as if to say, "Oh, it's this has been happening all night." And I think that Canelo, I mean, the commentary team was saying, he's taking it on his gloves. He's blocking it. That's what you do, folks. That's what you do. It's one of the things you do. And I thought that Crawford gave Canelo, and he was very sweet afterwards, Canelo, with his chat. He didn't say, he wasn't a Tyson Fury. He's not a man alive who can beat me. Well, he's just beaten you. He didn't beat me. He didn't say any of that, which is great. But one thing that Crawford didn't do was give Canelo an out at all. You couldn't say, but when he bullied you, he was better. Because he danced around him and that movement came up, and you never know if that movement's going to come up with you. You just never know. And he did. The movement was superb. And he then stood in the pocket and said, all right, you want to stand in the pocket and I'll taste your power and I'll give you something back. He gave him nothing. He gave him nothing to hang on to. And that is the humbling of Canelo, in my view, completely. I don't know where he goes now, but he'll never be at this level again.
What do you mean you don't know where he goes now, Steve? You know exactly where he goes now because we've been talking about it this entire time. The plan is playing out, Steve. The film is being shot as we speak. The scripts have been written. They've been read at the table, and now we're playing out the game. This is what's happening right now, Steve.
You're right. It is playing. I mean, it's as if everything's coming together cosmically. The cosmology of this is coming together because, I expected, I just want to say, I was right. I said Crawford would win, and I was right. So the thing is that a lot of people, I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised if Canelo had knocked him spark out. I wouldn't have been surprised. And there were people saying Crawford looks very big at the weight. At the weigh-in, he looks like he's not moving very well. He looked fine. He was fine, wasn't he? But if Canelo had won, it would be different. But that he didn't win just plays into that, doesn't it? Although it's not plain sailing for that particular situation at all.
No, and it's going to be very interesting, I think, what Crawford decides to do going forward, because you heard him. He said he's open for whatever, which means that, you're going to have to come to him with some big money fights. And who in this division, is going to want to step up. Everybody's going to want to step up to fight Crawford. I think that whole thing with Crawford and Boots Ennis is out the water now. That ain't ever happening. And I said this all the way back when we saw what Terrence Crawford did to Errol Spence Jr. And everybody thought that was going to be a way more competitive fight because of where Errol Spence Jr. was in his career. And Crawford came out and made him look like a rank amateur. Like, it was unreal what he did. And then you kind of knew Crawford had something special. And him stepping up to Canelo like this was like, whoa, maybe this is too much too soon. Like, he's skipping over, and this is no. Crawford proved that he is a generational talent that we have not seen. I'm going to say it, Steve, because I was thinking about this, and you think back, when is the last time we saw a guy who was that smooth, that good, and going up and fighting bigger guys like that? And you have to go back to the super middleweights. You have to go back to your Tommy Hearns, Hagler, Hearns, Ray Leonard. You know what I mean? You have to go back to those guys. And it was like, well, there it is right there. Terrence Crawford is Sugar Ray Leonard. He doesn't have the talking that Sugar Ray did, but his abilities and his willingness to fight much bigger guys and prove to them that, sometimes a couple of pounds just doesn't matter when you're that talented.
Yes. And two things. The first thing is that I always think when I don't know why a boxer is so good, but I know they're good, I just can't tell myself why, because there are so many things they do well. I could be here all day. That's something special. The other thing you mentioned, he's not a talker, and he's not. Now, there's a report today, and I was interested in this, in esteemed British newspaper, The Independent. I'm a Financial Times man myself, but I am the goods of ostentation and all of that.
You're not even going to mention the Sun?
We're not going to mention the Sun because I am a Liverpool fan. So we're definitely not going to mention the Sun. That will never happen in my household. So the Independent have said, who's next then for Terence? And actually, I took that and ran with it and did a podcast about this earlier because they mentioned a name that I think will be interesting because you mentioned he's not a good talker and he's not. You love some Caleb Plant.
I do.
Wouldn't that be a fun fight?
It absolutely would be.
But it's not big money though. That's the thing.
No, it's not. It's not big money, and I don't think that anybody in the world would give Caleb Plant more than 5 rounds in that fight. But I absolutely agree with what you're saying, right?
Is he then coming down and looking and having a fight where he comes over here? Is he looking at the winner of the Conor Ben and Christian Beck Jr. fight?
Oh, okay. Well, that's much better than what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say he's going to be looking at the winner between Thurman and Fundora or something like that.
He's not going to touch Fundora. There's no way. Yeah, he's a perplexing puzzle that no one can work out yet. Yeah. And and Crawford needs to see some people nearly dismantle him so we can say, oh, that's how you do it. Because at the moment we don't know. So he doesn't want that right now. And he's done so well, and the sky's the limit.
Well, the fight everybody's gonna want to see, because it's at that weight class, is Christian and Billy. Right. But the problem I think is because Lester Fernandez, they did such a good job in that fight. Now that they got to run it back, and maybe they have time to run it back before Terence Crawford has to do any mandatories or anything like that, because he's going to have some time off. Who knows how that's going to play out? But had Christian and Billy or Lester Fernandez come out of that one the winner, I think that was the fight that you would have been able to make next. And given the performance from those two, I mean, it's an easy fight to make. Absolutely.
Billy just coming forward and Terence Crawford picking him off, but Billy still coming forward would be with more intent than Canelo, who got very frustrated very early, as if to say, I'm brilliant. Can't you see?
You could see it. You could see it by the 9th, where he was literally, he'd take a shot and he'd step back, and you can see he's like, why do you keep doing this to me? Like, bro, did you not read what day it is? I'm supposed to be the superhero here. Right. And he was getting visibly frustrated.
I wanted one of his team to walk over to to the corner of Terence Crawford with a little note saying, don't you know who I am? I wanted that because that was the kind of thing on his face. Certainly in that 11th. Oh, he's going on. I'll hit you with a good shot here. You just flicked out a jab.
There's a perfect shot that you see that's going around, and it's that left hand. The left hand that Crawford hits Canelo with, that spins his head and makes him come back and look like, what happened? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful meme that's going to live on in infamy forever. Let me ask you this, Steve. And we talked about who possibly had the most to lose on this entire card. Christian Billy came out, showed out. Even the main event was way more exciting than we thought it was going to be. Given the pressure that Crawford put on him and was able to pick him apart like a boxer. What did you think of Callum Walsh's performance against Fernando Vargas Jr.?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
Because I was watching Crocker and Donovan.
Okay, well, let's get into that then first, because I'll hold off on the Callum Walsh thing because I have some moments about that. Let's talk about Crocker and Donovan. That was on another, that was definitely a fight that had a lot of people perplexed. Do you think that it was the knockdowns that won that fight?
Yes. Oh yeah. But I thought that was a superb knockdown, the second one, because the camera was perfectly positioned. So he got up and he did a, what day is it? He did one of those. And he had the Cassius Clay Saved by the Bell situation.
Yeah.
I thought it was a wonderful fight because Crocker knocked him down. I mean, the first knockdown, he was unbalanced reaching in. He missed a punch. He was knocked down that way. It's only a cuffing blow, really. Second one was great. And I thought that Donovan was it was cruel. Crocker deserved it, but it was cruel because Donovan fought his way back in. So I love it when, your plan is ruined and you just say, just going to bite down the gum shield and fight my way back into this one. And he was smoother and a better boxer than Crocker, I thought, and really kind of dominated a lot of the rest of that fight. And the knockdowns were the reason why. So, it was a great local tear up.
Yeah, and that's what you're looking for, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really what we want in boxing. That's why we wanted the fights that we got from last night at the Canelo card. I for one am excited and happy that Max Kellerman is back calling boxing. But there's sometimes when he's doing his after fight stuff, holy crap, guy, like just get to the question.
Yeah.
But you can see him like pontificating. How shall I ponder this query? To a guy who's just been punched in the face for fucking 30 minutes.
I thought there was a little bit of, I don't want to upset you here, Canelo, so I'm going to have to put this properly. I want to ask a question about tainted meat. How do I raise that one with you without getting upsetting you? It was that kind of thing.
Well, his questioning was very much like, I don't want to say it, but you got clowned in this fight. Do you think you can do this any longer? Are you done? Should you retire? Like, it was really like trying to get the clickbait out of him without just blatantly coming out and having a moment, like some other guys have had while asking questions afterwards in the ring. With Floyd Mayweather Jr.
it was extraordinary because it was almost embarrassing to watch. It's like, come on, let's get through this. We need to find out whether he's going to say, as I said earlier, I won that fight, or whether he's going to say he's great. And he did the latter, and that's credit to him. I'm not a great fan of Canelo, as you know, but that was credit to him.
Now, how pissed off do you think Jake Paul is? I mean, you had a house of over 70,000. And I don't know if you saw this, but His Excellency said that he has reports. He pulled a Trump moment where he's like, nobody else has these reports, but I have these reports. And it's going to be coming out that this was the largest Netflix viewing of boxing ever, like really sticking it to the kid. Just sticking it to the kid, right? Like, oh, you thought the Tyson thing was cool? And watch this. That's really what it was.
And you're going to get a lot more of that now because of because really, they've broken cover now. His Excellency and Dana have broken cover now. There was a bit of kind of, we're working together to promote this fight. Now it's, okay, we're all in. And Dana got cheesed off at the question and answer, and all of that. And they're now in it. So now we're going to get, okay, we're preparing, and you are going to get some he said, she said stuff.
Well, it's interesting because I noticed that, like, when they were on stage for the weigh-ins, and if you looked in the back, there was Triple H and Nick Khan standing on stage for this. And you realize then that this isn't just your normal thing. This is TKO. And TKO is jumping in huge. If you think about it, TKO now has they are a production company at this point, in my opinion. They have a production, a wrestling show production called WWE, which is a television show about a wrestling company. They have a mixed martial arts company that is a television show about a mixed martial arts company in the UFC. Now they're going to get into the world of boxing. And that's exactly what you're going to see, because they're going to implement the same kind of thing that they've implemented with those other two into the world of boxing. This is what Dana's talking about when he mentioned saving boxing, and Canelo got very upset about that, saying, boxing doesn't need to be saved. And he's right. Both guys are right. That's what I think. Both guys are right, because boxing does need, maybe not a complete, you don't need to be going out and getting baptized or anything like that. And, born again, it's nothing like that kind of revision, but there are some things that you can see need to be better maintained to further the sport. Getting on Netflix is a huge start for stuff like this. That is a huge thing. So I understand what Dana is saying, but if you don't have the answers when somebody starts grilling you about the UBOs and about going after the Ali Act the way that it's going to happen, because if you think that was the only time that question is going to come up, that somebody's in scramble mode now trying to figure out what the memo is going to be next time that question comes up, because there has to be one. There absolutely has to be one, because it's going to get asked again, right?
Yes. And one of the reasons why it's going to get asked again is because it's not a unanimous support. So the California State Athletic Commission, there are reports that they asked their members and supporters, what do you think about this? And they said, we're not keen. There's a support, and maybe this has changed now, but there was a report last week that they've said, we're not supporting this now. So maybe that's jostling for position, and we'll see what comes of it. But I wanted to ask you this, because I saw another interview with Dana White. He mentioned all the things about, with these sanctioning bodies, you're not getting the fights you want. Well, you're not, but it was ever thus, wasn't it? So it's not as if you and His Excellency, if you're at the top of this, saying, I think this one should fight this one. You're the ones who'll be saying, or somebody else will be saying, a matchmaker will be saying, these are the fights. So it could be ever thus. But I'm just saying, with him talking about, and we need to spread the money around and all of that, is he offering to unionize boxing? I'm a trade unionist myself. Is he looking to do that, Tidster? Because it sounds like it to me.
No, he'll never do that. What he'll do is he'll spread the money around. It's still to them as independent contractors.
Yes.
That's what they do, so that all of the fighters, all of the performers are liable for their own stuff. That is the business model that they've built with the UFC, because what you have, and we've said this before, is you have fighters who are more interested in feeding their egos than feeding their families sometimes. And that's why every once in a while you have a fighter who shows up at the Contender Series or shows up on the boxer shows or whatever, and you're like, I've never heard of this guy. Why is he 42-3 in his record? Well, it's because he's been a journeyman who's been feeding his family for the last little while. But now we're going to give him a shot. Finally, he's going to get a shot on TV. Why are we giving him this shot on TV? Well, because his ego needs it. It's the only reason you end up on TV. It's the only reason that we do this stuff on YouTube. It's the only reason podcasts are done. It's the only reason we do all of this stuff, is to feed our own egos. And they've found a way. They've found a way to find the best of the best that want to do this at a reasonable rate, right? So that they can have a super fight on top with, Canelo Alvarez and Jake Paul, one time only, right? On pay-per-view, to destroy all numbers ever, whatever they want to do, right? I'm sure that Tyson Fury right now is trying to figure out a way to fight Terrence Crawford. Like, I'm sure that these things are happening. Manny Pacquiao is going to fight the Jolly Green Giant next. Like, we're going to have these ridiculous main event things, but then you're going to fill it in with guys like the Callum Walshes of the world, the guys like the Christian and Billy's, the Lester Fernandez's of the world, like the guys that we know as boxing fans how good they are and what they've accomplished and where they are in their records and in their careers, but the masses don't. And that's what they need to do, is they need to get a product that they can sell to the masses so that they can make more money, because that's it at the end of the day. And I don't know if you noticed this or not, even the feel of the way it was shot, the way it was given to you last night on that Netflix event was very, very UFC. It had that kind of a feel to it. And then when you heard John Anik's voice, you were like, oh, this is completely. So you can see what TKO is bringing to the table on this. She brings the money, they bring the production, and everybody goes home happy.
Yeah, and you diversify your product within that, because as we said, a bit of boxing, you've got a league or something, you've got some UFC and some MMA, you've got your legends, and you've got a reality TV show, or maybe 2 or 3 out of that. So it's a TV, as you say, a TV production company. It's not a UBO, it's a UTVO. So it's a Universal TV organization. And that's what it is. That, I suspect that again, Dana White will be listening to this going, curses, they found out, and I would have got away with it too if it weren't for you pesky podcasters. It's Dana White, the head of the UFC.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine they do a house, okay? Just like they do the Ultimate Fighter stuff, right? They do a house, and you've got a couple of guys that are coaches that are going to fight at the end of it. And you find out that your coaches are Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather Jr. That's going to do huge numbers in TV, and you're going to get that fight afterwards. This is what I think they're going to set that model up for, because it works for it. But it hasn't been working that well with the Ultimate Fighter. The numbers have been dwindling because we're on season 972. We do this with boxing. We end up on season 1 with this boxing stuff like this. And you've got a couple of coaches, as I say, who are the guys that are going to fight at the end of it, as well as some of these guys that you watch grow. That's Dana's MO. That's exactly what they do, and they do it well.
Yeah, and your judge for each of the fights, sitting on a throne, is Tyson Fury.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, it should be shithouse or prospect. Shithouse. Yeah, press the button. Oh, I'm afraid you're a shithouse.
Right? Yeah. I mean, that's how you get Carl Froch to fight.
I'm just going to say that. By the way, Carl Froch was offered this fight before Christmas and turned it down. So it's all right. It's okay now, because he was offered the fight and didn't do it. Did you know, by the way, that he knocked somebody out in front of 80,000 people? He's very quiet about it, but he did.
Well, I mean, I'm sure that he appreciates you out there being his Flava Flav, being his hype man, if you will. And letting everybody know how over Carl Chuck D. Froch really is.
What time is it, Carl? Money time.
That's exactly right. Unbelievable. Listen, Steve, I don't know where we go with this UBO stuff, but I'm pretty sure that this is what's going to be the future of boxing. Right? If you got you're not making, but this isn't. You're not making a sport. You're not creating anything new. What you're doing is you're opening it up so that you can have a TV show about it. Because that was one of the things I can imagine was not when you tried to do the TV show before, and you're dealing with the governing bodies and all of the paperwork and rigmarole of trying to get this fight to go with this fight and stuff like that we know boxing is infamous for, the bullshit of it. You won't have to worry about that with all of this new UBO thing, right? UBO, TKO, whatever you want to call it, Dana.
And there will still be some crumbs, certainly in the early going, for promoters like Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn. And more about this in a minute, because I've got something to say about this. Who will have the possibility of actually big fights, because I don't know if or there'll be something that they'll work together with TKO on outside of the usual. So promoters need to band together, and I know that Matchroom and and Queensbury are best of mates now.
Right.
But I saw something on Stomping Ground. It's Stamping Ground, lads. But it's a Stomping Ground podcast. And he's a mate of theirs, Eddie Hearn. And he's and he's a force for good in boxing, in my view. And he plays the game and he does the social media stuff. I really enjoy it. And he sits down and talks to them and then goes and has his dinner. And he did that for about half an hour, 20 minutes. Right at the end of it, they talked about Boxer and them apparently suing a couple of, one newspaper brand, because I think it's 30 million plus, it's reported, because their stories affected Boxer's business. And what Hearn said was, it's a mess, and look at Company's House if you want to have a look at how much money they've got, that sort of thing. I thought, you really, come on, mate, just because Ben Shalom doesn't usually play the game, may not be, they may have a personal enmity, which I don't know about. But when you're looking at this big bad UBO and you can't get in, and he said, I'm great friends with Dana White. Not in a business sense though, mate. So maybe. So if you can't get into this big bad UBO, you need as much help as you can get. And getting your fighters on the BBC, which got a lot of cachet, is probably a good thing. Don't cut anybody off if you've got this huge monolith that's arriving and the door is closed.
It also kind of shows everybody that, hey, we can be England for you. In this worldwide thing of boxing that they're going to do, they're going to need those allies. This is what we talked about. This is how Ben Shalom and Boxer gets to the table, because they're that dark horse in this whole race. And if they can show His Excellency and Dana that they've got some viable product that they can bring to the table like that, and the BBC is probably the biggest one. It is the most British thing that you can do. It works out perfectly.
And if you do, which I fervently hope they do, if you have Moses Atauma on a British heavyweight boxing tour, so he fights David Adeleke, he fights Buatsi, he fights Wardley, he finishes off with AJ. You do that on the BBC, and you do that even in York Hall or somewhere bigger, you do it on the BBC. That is money in the bank, transatlantically. And that is what you do. And then you say to the UBO, look at all this we've got. And it's got, and look, the king likes this. It's the BBC. So that's what you do. If promoters actually listened to us, they would have an easier time of it.
I think one of the things that you are going to see, because it was evident, I don't know if you saw the pictures or not, of the face-off, speaking of heavyweights, in this past weekend. And we called this one too. And I think this might be one of the next big ones that you see on a card is Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz Jr. I don't know if you noticed or not, but somebody forgot to tell the other half of Andy Ruiz Jr. to show up at this thing. He looks phenomenal. Like you've never seen a dude in that good of shape. Good for him. I mean, pretty soon he's going to be a light heavyweight.
And beats Deontay Wilder is my view. Beats 100%. Him if they fight. Beats him. And we saw Deontay Wilder stand up last night. Deontay Wilder's here, former, and there wasn't a big cheer or anything like that, was there? I just thought, is anybody cheering at all? It's former. Don't call me former, little man, as Rick Rude would say. Yeah, well, he is former. And I believe that Andrew Ruiz, who is probably feels it's tastier than Deontay Wilder does these days, who doesn't, I don't think, really want it. He should have fought Francis Ngannou. Have an easier time of it. Do the exhibition.
I think that there was another telltale last when I was watching this as well, and the difference between the two Netflix things that we've experienced now so far is the star power. The star power that Canelo versus Crawford brought out, as opposed to Mike Tyson brought out. The amount of people that they were just gumming it up for the cameras last night. I mean, when you saw Dana White, His Excellency, Jason Statham, and Mr. Beast all city. Those are the 4 front row seats. Those are the guys that are chumming it up and hanging out. I don't know how Jason Statham ends up in that mix unless His Excellency is a huge fan of the Jason Statham movies and thinks that is actually the person and not the character that he plays in the movies. Maybe thinks he really is a transporter who can help him out with moving a few things. I don't know.
Well, I've got a double duvet that needs moving, Jason. I'll be right on it.
Right?
I have to say that I saw, and I can't remember what he was called, but I saw him, and he was, I'm a police officer from Seattle. I was born in Seattle. Were you?
You know, yeah.
Really? What part of Seattle was that?
Yes. You didn't know there were shires in Seattle area, did you? Right? Yeah. No.
Amazing. But it's very easy to watch, and maybe His Excellency is a fan of Expendables 4, because some fuckers got to be.
Well, I mean, listen, could you imagine you get invited over to his place and he just like has it playing on like 30 TVs all around the house, no matter where you look, thinks this is the greatest movie ever fucking made.
And he just shouts, Jason Statham Marathon! And you're there all weekend. Oh, I'm going to watch Hummingbird twice.
I'd rather do Weekend at Bernie's, for fuck's sakes. And I mean that in real life. Unbelievable. And I can understand why Mr. Beast is there. It's a money thing. I mean, the guy's got, that amount of money where he can be hanging out there, and hey, maybe he's looking to invest a little bit. I can understand that, but I don't understand how Jason Statham ended up in the middle of that.
But you also get, Magic Johnson's here, and so you've got, well, he's kind of sports royalty in the States, isn't he? And all of that. So you have got that. Mike Tyson just looked like he was a competition winner. Did you see him? I'm just happy to be here.
He was high as a giraffe's eyeballs. I'm telling you, straight up. That dude was so good. It was crazy.
High as a giraffe's eyeball. That's great.
He was. Listen, it was a breath of fresh air that we got the fights that we got on a card when everybody was like, "Oh, this undercard is garbage. This undercard isn't going to deliver at all." And we're like, let's analyze this. Let's think about this a little bit. And it delivered. It delivered, people. It delivered because there's people out there that are smarter than you. So just let them do their jobs, and if it falls flat, it falls flat. But if it doesn't, you're going to get to see fights like you did on this past weekend. And we didn't even mention the fact of early in the morning after all of this, because it wouldn't be a Canelo weekend if Inoue didn't fight at 6 o'clock in the morning my time, and went 12 rounds and literally just embarrassed him and picked his opponent Akhmadaliev apart for 12 rounds.
And that's important for Inoue because he doesn't need to get hurt when he's going to be going, when the states are calling. He doesn't need to get hurt. So that's really good. Now, I don't know if you saw this. One of the most extraordinary moments of the weekend was actually on the undercard of the Crocker and Donovan fight, and it was Meatball Molly McCann, and it was her debut. And I can't remember who she was fighting, but it was an MMAer who shipped a few punches in the corner in round 2 and aimed a kick at Molly McCann's stomach to get out of there.
Yes. Old Coochie Kicker Kelly is, I think, what they were calling her in this fight. I'm surprised. Listen, shout out Molly McCann. I love that girl. She is awesome energy, fantastic fighter. I'm glad that she's still able to do what she's doing, make some money, do the thing. I also want to commend her for not just grabbing the leg, taking that girl down, and choking the living tar out of her. Because she had every right to. Like, you could see Molly had her in the corner so badly and beating up on her so badly. She literally was like, she thought she was in a schoolyard fight, and she was like, "Get away from me." That's what she was doing.
Yeah, and I thought that when I saw it, I thought, oh, the ref, where was the sodding ref? But when they played it back, I thought, well, he was behind her, looking at the opponent's eyes to see whether we need to throw her out or not, or take her out of there or not. Molly McCann, incredibly calm.
Yes.
all through, just beautifully calm. Even when she had her rattled, she was just going to see if this carries on, just going to see what punches I can get in. Beautiful. Can't teach that, can you? It's there or it's not.
Well, and that's the experience of doing MMA that she's already had. She's already been into those fights. She's already been punched in the face numerous times. She's already put in round after round after round. You know what I mean? So she's experienced in all of that stuff. So for her to have that outing, it's fantastic. And she's a good enough character that women's boxing needs somebody like that. You know what I mean? You need to be able to have somebody that's not afraid to talk a little shit, not afraid to say some things, you know, and not afraid to get into a fist fight. And I think that's the next level. We have the talent. There's talented female fighters out there. Now you need to be able to market them. And you're only going to be able to market them so far off of their looks or off of their skills. They have to be able to open their mouths and talk.
Yeah. And who's she promoted by? Because I just want to say that Jake Paul surely has her number on speed dial.
And who she signed with was MVP.
There you go. There you go. And that's a rocket ride to the moon now, isn't it? And that's quite right. Because she's, you know, she knows exactly what she's doing.
Yep.
Can I ask you, do you think this UBO will get through? Is it Congress or the Senate? I don't know about American politics. Do you think it will actually get through? Or do you think some people, because it's tied to Trump, will be saying, actually, let's not support this and let's give it a harder ride? What do you reckon?
No, I think that it will get through. And I think it'll get through for the reason that because in the United States, the Republicans are in office. They're in control.
Yeah.
You know, this is the same group of people, not to get political, but for a second here, this is the same group of people that had a moment of silence for a debater over one of their own, who was murdered. So they are very much on side, I believe, anyways, with Trump's message and the things that Trump wants to do. And they're going to be doing a fight on the White House lawn for the UFC. So this absolutely, they're going to put this thing through and make it happen.
Let me just get this in then. I think you're right. Let me just get this in quickly then, because this will happen. JD Vance, Molly McCann on the White House lawn, tussling. That's going to happen. This will happen.
I would love nothing more than to see Molly McCann shoot a double and just take that hillbilly down. But you know what? I think you would see that JD Vance, being, you know, one of those Appalachian boys, he's probably got some of that Artard strength into him, and you know he can fight back. There's no doubt about it.
It's going to be it'll be a telephone box fight, that one.
Unbelievable. All right, Steve, it's always a pleasure as usual. I love nothing more. For all of you, thank you so much for joining us here. Thank you so much for checking us out on your podcast provider, Spotify, Apple, Heart, Tunes, all of the fun ones. You can also check out Steve, World Weary Guy 1, for all of those reviews, some of his individual podcasts. He's always doing it. What's on the turntable this week, Steve?
You know, I've just finished one before I came on here, actually. And I thought long and hard before I did this. The album's been out a couple of weeks. And it's David Byrne's new album, because I love me some David Byrne, and I love me, as you would say, love me some Talking Heads very much.
Yes.
But I just thought, you know, with all the kind of, I'm sunny and funny and, you know, childlike and childish. And I just wonder whether that actually is, or whether that's confected for business. Because I know that Ron Mail at Sparks does this, and he does it when he suddenly starts dancing. I've seen Sparks many times. And when he suddenly starts dancing, it's a thing. And then he winks at us, because he knows that that's a bit of business. And, you know, that kind of childlike, everybody laughs, everybody cries, you know, I love it, and I love the album. I'm not saying I don't, but I just think, is that really you? It may well be, but is it really you with you know, in your lifetime situation now, getting married and all of that? Or is that created so that we think, oh, it can be funny as well?
Oh, could you imagine if it is created and you find out that David Byrne's real life, he just like this brooding mope like Nick Cave walking around his house the entire time, just listening to Leonard Cohen fucking songs over and over again.
I find out that I mean, it was reported that Nick Cave living in Brighton, you know, and came out of the addiction and all of that, and has office space. Don't know if he still lives in Brighton, but he did, and did an 8-hour day in his office. I thought, what are you doing for 8 hours? What, are you writing music in a regimented way for 8 hours? You know,
you find out that David Byrne is just a huge Morrissey fan. Hates the Smiths, but loves Morrissey.
Listen, there is no better way to sell all of your rights to the Smiths, as Morrissey recently did, than to say, I'm selling it all. Here's an email address, but I only want people who are really serious. What?
DM me, serious inquiries only, please. Like, he's selling an old vase. Here's my teapot I'm getting rid of.
Extraordinary. I mean, he pulled that address down 2 days later, and I'm not surprised.
Oh, unbelievable. All right. Well, listen, I look forward to it because it's always great listening to you anyway, Steve.
Thank you.
And to all of the rest of you, please check all of this stuff out. Share it with your friends. Leave us a comment. But most importantly, you know what you got to do. You got to remember, Wu-Tang's for the children. If you don't like that, coming after you, so you best tuck your chin.